Any questions just with our selection of Erik McCoy?
I would imagine versatility is the key to this pick.
Well, he's one of those players that, you know, in the process stood out. I think you see his strength on tape in each game you watch. We really had a high grade on him. Played obviously at a you know, high level of competition, and you see the consistency, and there were just a lot of things to like with the player. But yeah, there's a versatility element relative to I think he's a center and look, Nick's someone who's played center and played guard. We just felt real good about the vision for him on our team and helping our team.
Sean, was any players or group of players you were considering, or was he the guy, or you have a few players you
He was kind of the guy coming in today, you know, paying attention last night. I wouldn't have been, you know, surprised if, you know, he was someone that was selected at the, you know, towards the latter part of the first round, and you started seeing the corners go early today like we thought would happen, and a few of the receivers. And you know, you just kind of pay attention, you begin talking with a few teams, but he was different than, he wasn't in a group. He was one of the, I would say, probably the target coming in here this morning. We're just feeling like, you know, this would be, the vision's clear, and certainly that we felt really good about his talent.
Was it hard to match up with a team to get where you wanted to get him?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're you know, you start that process maybe, you know, 5, 6, 7 picks into the second round, and you know, we had multiple conversations with a number of teams. So, you know, fortunately, it worked out.
When you had him as the vision this morning, were you thinking he might slide to 62, or were you always sort of thinking you'd have to?
We felt strongly that he wouldn't make it to 62. That was one thing, and that we didn't think he would be there at that time.
In the past, you've said, you know, if you had like a first round grade as this guy, you had like a first round or top
Yeah,
30
I
grade
think,
or something.
Yeah, specifically probably either. I think we probably had a real early 2 on him. But yeah, I mean, we were pretty confident that he wasn't going to be available if we stood pat.
When did y'all start to kind of zero in on him? You know, you said you started. You talked.
Well, I think
senior
what time
bowl.
the draft started. So the draft's tonight, or more specifically through the process. I think in our, you know, you start with obviously your winter reads, and then throughout the, you know, the spring and the workouts. But you know, it still gets back to the tape and watching that, and obviously all the other things, you know, he checks the boxes with. But the tape we felt was real good, very consistent. Yeah, so there were a lot of things to like.
How important was it to get to 4 too? I mean, to add another day 3.
Yeah, I mean, you're working with other teams to try to come up with what you think is fair value on both parts, and so yeah, that kind of puts you back in. You know, I know we're in the 3rd round here, and we're going to finish up this pretty soon, but it gives you just a little bit more flexibility as well.
Sean, was center a high priority because Max retired?
Well,
you guys felt
it wasn't going to be. You know, it's one of the reasons, you know, we brought Nick in, and so we just felt like an interior lineman was going to be important for us. We've got some younger guys that are competing at that spot, but I think it was you know, a little bit of a combination of just the right fit, but also more importantly than anything else, we really liked where our grade was with the player and his consistency, and you know, the things that he brings to the locker room.
Initial vision, where you see him center going at first?
Center, I think. I mean, you know, we'll see once he gets here, but you know, I see him, you know, the position he played in college, and let him come in. Nick as well. There's flex. Both of them are smart guys that we feel like, you know, have that flexibility. But it's early now. But I think you know, we see him as someone coming in as a center.
39 career starts, clearly like his durability.
Yeah, consistency, all those things, you know, were impressive.
Sean, what about this off the field? I see he's won like a lot of leadership type awards. I mean, did you pick up on any of that this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think when the area scout comes back and then the cross-check comes back, pretty soon, you know, you're getting a guy that we feel like is gonna fit in here. He's tough, he's durable, he's well-liked captain, you know, all those things, so, those are all part of it, and you put all of that together along with a good football player, and, we feel like we helped ourselves in that round.
Yeah, this seems to be an annual question the past few years, but why'd you feel comfortable trading a future, you know, high pick?
Well, it's a
Get up there.
second next year. We think it'll be a later second, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, it was, if there wasn't that specific target, you know, we would have been real comfortable letting the draft come to our pick at 62.
Sean, do you see him as a guy that could play right away as a starter?
We'll see. You know, all these guys have a transition to make. It's hard to predict that sometimes. He's smart, you know, and yet I think in fairness to the process and the veterans that are here, you know, there's a lot that has to happen for young players to come in. And I think the first thing will be, you know, him getting up to speed with what we do, and yeah, I mean, he'll come in and compete, but I would never just predict that. I mean, we think he's been a real good football player at college, and you know, our gut and our instincts tell us the same thing will happen at our level, but all of that, you know, he'll earn.
The Texas A&M ties, how much does that help in scouting a player making this move?
I kid these guys, you know, we got one more Texas A&M player in here, coach will be over the limit. No, it helps at times, but you know, it really starts with the scouting process. You know, coaches that are here are removed from staffs, and look, it's more about the relationships with coaches there, even their head coach, you know, who we know real well and spoke extremely high, or you know, all of that gets into the makeup grade that you're putting on a player. The tape, I think, speaks for itself. That's, you know, the starting point.
How much does it help when McCoy goes up against these big time competition, you know,
Yeah,
first round? I
that's-
mean, how much does that help?
It's
in your
important. You
mentality?
get to see him against, you know, guys he's going to play against this next level. It's, you know, it's more challenging when it's a smaller school, and it doesn't eliminate the smaller school prospect, but it's, you know, when you see the level of competition, the conference he's playing in, and some of the better defensive tackles in our country in this draft are coming out of the SEC, and so he was very, very consistent. He's a physical player. He's smart.
And Nick, compared to, you know, when you initially heard that Max was retiring?
Yeah, look, you never want to lose a player like Max, and I mean, he was, you know, a great player for us, but you know, you identify the need area and you address it if it's available without, you know, going out and trying to create players that fit the need. You know, in this case, we felt real good about signing Nick. You know, he's played at a high level at both center and guard, but so I mean, I think a little bit better than the night after Max was retiring. And look, we were well informed and on top of, and knew where Max was kind of leaning, and he and I had a number of discussions. You know, we share the same agent, so it wasn't something that caught us off guard. It was really trying to, you know, get through the process where, you know, the season's right, you know, over, and give, you know, him the necessary time to make, you know, a decision like that.
Anything happened first round, second round that kind of caught your attention?
No, I think yesterday we talked about it. It was fairly unremarkable. you know, the first round went fairly smooth. There were a few selections maybe that were surprising, but, no, I thought it went, fairly quickly, I guess, and, you know, maybe there were a few picks, but other than that, I thought it was pretty normal.
Sean, Erik said that at his pro day, Dan worked him out and went over film with him. What were Dan's reactions?
All of them, all of it very positive. You know, we got to a lot of workouts at certain positions, and you know, you just kept checking boxes. They were good. They were clean. For me, it was just, you know, watching. I wasn't at the pro day, and certainly was able to see the tape, combine, all of that. But you just watch the film, and it's pretty impressive.
What do you think when you saw the Dolphins flip 62 for Rosen?
Yeah, well, I think that was, we'd heard, you know, they were looking to find a quarterback. So that was kind of discussed a little bit yesterday. Yeah, so it wasn't really surprising.
Is that a pretty startling turn of events when you think back to grading Rosen last year, that
Well, look,
suddenly he
there's a
does-
fit, that happens at times, and there's another team that, you know, that has a level of interest, so going from a first round pick to a second round pick, there's still a commitment by a team. Arizona, for them, probably, you know, good business if they felt they wanted to move in a different direction offensively. I can't speak for the other teams, but, you know, it obviously is a position that is coveted and important. So it wasn't that surprising. I guess the compensation was something, you know, we were all curious to see.
When you say there were discussions, do you mean between you and the Dolphins yesterday?
No.
Or just about Rosen
No,
yesterday?
just discussions
general?
about,
Yeah, okay.
I think, look, I think it was the destination of where he might go after Kyler Murray was selected. You know, there were a few teams, and that was it. Get a haircut, Mike?
Yeah.
Good.
Lost the bet.
Where's the suit today?
Huh?
I thought we were gonna get a suit.
I had the suit on yesterday. Yeah.
Were
Well,
you
good.
were you worried if you picked a defensive player that Deuce might scratch it out, pick someone else?
Now, listen, between Deuce and Jari, you know, they're two different personalities. They both did a good job. Anytime you move up, you're just, between the two of them, they haven't missed many buffets, so we were, they weren't sitting in the lunchroom, you know, when we're trying to make a selection, but those guys represented us well.
Thanks.